kids that didn't get to come and parents, I just wanted to give you a recap of what we talked about. Today's August the 28th. I wanted to make sure you're coming home. The kids should be coming home every week with this half sheet of paper. It'll give you, well, if I had it up right, it'll give you upcoming events, it'll give you the lesson for the week, and it'll give you the meat eaters for the week. The meat eaters is how we're going to get your kids to make reading a habit. We're going to reward kids who read their word, and we're going to make sure that they have prizes at the end of every book that we go through. We will be going through the New Testament in 3 years. So get them in this, work with them, audio Bible on the way to school, do something to try to get them active in this meat eaters. The second piece that you should see is this right here. This paper right here is a year-long permission slip. But I have to have this back before your child can participate in things for Stoked. So please, please, please get it back as soon as possible. It is vitally important. Like I said, it's a year-long permission slip. Unless we're going to something like the Meltdown, which is multiple overnights, this will serve for our permission slip for everything that we do that you bring them to. So this is important, and it saves you a lot of headache to have to fill out multiple permission slips. Okay, so tonight we got into the Word. We talked about Mark 1 and 2. We got into some group time. We had worship in the sanctuary. We had such an amazing time tonight. But what we talked about in our message time, we talked about being a follower of Christ. And we talked about the first 5 disciples called in the book of Mark. We talked about Simon Peter and Andrew, James and John, and we talked about Matthew. And we talked about how all these men had different characteristics and how we could really identify with who they were as people and as men. Really, all of us could identify with them. But we talked about the amazing part of these followers were that they didn't ask questions of Christ. When Christ said follow, they followed. And so the action points for this week, we're to start to pray about salvation. Next week, we're going to give an opportunity for a salvation call of prayer, of intensive time for response to the issue of whether or not they've been saved and whether or not they need to get right with Jesus. So we've asked them to spend the week in prayer about that issue. If they have salvation, to thank God for their salvation. Thank Him for the gift that He offers them, and forgiveness and His love and His want for a relationship with us. The second thing we asked them to do this week was to do their meat eaters. They need to get into the Word, start reading so they understand what God's voice sounds like, so that way they can recognize it in their own life and they can hear His call clearly. And then the third thing we talked about, we asked them to do this week was try to modify one behavior or thing that they did throughout the week. So that could be anything from the type of music they watch, what type of shows they watch on TV, things they do after school, people they hang out with, whether or not getting into their word. They need to try to do one thing to modify their behavior to get more in line with what Christ wants us to do. So I left it open. I told them, you don't have to be perfect, but you need to try, because God wants us to try more than anything. So that's what we talked about today. I'm on Facebook. You can Twitter me. I'm on email, on phone, whatever. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.